After a run of Scrappy-Doo centered Scooby shows in the late 70s and early 80s, it was finally time to go back to the drawing board. And Hanna-Barbera did so with one of the most interesting, and more importantly, different iterations of Scooby-Doo. The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. Gone are the days of the segmented episodes, and we get an overarching story, kind of like we would get later on in Mystery Incorporated. And in a really fun twist, all of the monsters here are real, leaving our cowardly couple of boys no choice but to face their fears to conquer them. But which one's the best episode? Well... Okay, so immediately, there's a huge leap in quality here. This looks absolutely stunning. Still very old, don't get me wrong. But importantly, not dated. I'm a real sucker for the matte painting looks. They're just so clean looking. Speaking of, who's this little guy? This ghosty and his buddy find a glowing chest, which can only mean one thing. Humans are coming. No, Daphne, what'd they do to your hair? Now she just looks like every other 80s hot girl in media. But what's she doing in the Himalayas? She should be at the club. And I think she meant to be, as her and the boys were supposed to go to Hawaii. Must have taken a wrong turn at Istanbul. The ghosts of the Dyatlov Pass siphon the fuel out of the plane, causing the plane's engines to cease. Also, is Shaggy a licensed pilot? Maybe not. Before we get to see if the gang turn into those ghosts we saw from before, meet my buddy Flim Flam, a fun little scamp on the run from the whole town of Ursylvania. He hitches a ride on the crashing plane, only to be arrested immediately. They get pretty lucky, all things considered, as the judge orders them to leave town by sundown. We didn't even get a fun My Cousin Vinny parody. The gang goes back to find the flying mystery machine missing, now inside the castle that the ghosts can't seem to open the door to. Back in town, Flim Flam leads the gang to his mystic friend, Vincent Van Ghoul, cooking up a salacious stew. He reads their fortune via his crystal ball, sufficiently scaring the gang into the arms of the townspeople, who invite them to watch a live performance by Ghouliо. Daphne enjoys a nice adult beverage, which is actually just a big mug of wolfsbane, the elixir that turns people into werewolves. When that full moonlight hits, the entire town is soon turned, and my Daphne, what sharp teeth you have. Making an escape into the sewers allows Flim Flam to use some of his joy juice on Daphne to reverse the werewolfification. The gang return back to the castle, where the ghosts have drilled a hole through the door, allowing them access inside. The townspeople also decide to join, cornering the gang before being helped by the two ghosts, and more of Flim Flam's juice. The turned townspeople lore dump on Daphne, Flim Flam, and Scrappy about the Chest of Demons curse, but they probably should have included Shag and Scoob. Instead, they're contestants on the hottest game show, Let's Make 'Em Squeal. And this is so much fun. Personally, I love game shows, and the boys fall victim to the pressure of the crowd and their impulse to find out what's in the box. Once they do open it, they release the 13 ghosts, who immediately break out and spread across the world. The only ones who can capture them are the ones who released them, so it's up to the mystery gang now, with Flim Flam included. And this is an absolutely amazing pilot episode. It perfectly sets up the world and the story, giving us an actual objective and what will prove to be an overarching narrative. And I hope it keeps up this energy throughout. Vincent pops in to give the gang their first mission, Maldor the Malevolent, who is searching for this golden gravy ladle thing, which would make them the most powerful being in the universe. As they head up towards the castle, we get to see Maldor in action, with Princess Esmeralda getting the Snow White treatment. The gang soon find that they're lost in the foggy woods, so now's about as good a time as any for a picnic. But before they get to chow down on these giant sandwiches, the trees come alive and fling them back to the van. Also, there's a lot of great gags in this, like Flim Flam's compass. But Scrappy setting up a target, checking the wind, adjusting, just for Scooby and Shaggy to land a couple feet away was so funny to me. They lose the crystal ball they need to communicate with Vincent Van Ghoul and build a raft to go retrieve it, which looks exactly like the emoji that's like, "Dab me up." Maldor turns a rabbit into a dragon, which prompts an interruption from the Scooby-Doo show, and Scrappy makes this old lady cry. Why was this here? This is so much fun. Back to the regular scheduled program, as Flim Flam pulls out all the stops to not become dragon food. But the gang are inevitably captured and sent straight to Maldor's chamber. And I might have asked for the My Cousin Vinny parody in the last episode, but this time we actually get close. Not that it matters, as all 5 are thrown in Maldor's dungeon, where Zagraz the magician is being kept. They use the convenient door to escape, splitting up in the process, with Daphne arguably getting the worst deal, falling right into Maldor's goth bed. Naturally, Shag and Scoob get sent to the kitchen, where they whip up a batch of special Scooby stew. And, aha! I knew it! I knew it was a ladle! The boys regroup just in time to see Daphne get put under the sleep spell, Maldor is only worried about getting the wand, so while they chase Scooby down for it, Scooby is able to use it for good, while also being an ally. So love that. Maldor keeps malding, eventually turning into a kaiju to capture Scooby. Hey, Shaggy? What you doing? I'm gonna pretend like I didn't see that. Flimflam catches Maldor in the chest of demons, and the narcoleptic curse is broken by the kiss of a Danish prince. Okay, a Great Dane will have to do. One ghost down, and this series is genuinely so funny. Maybe it's because I'm essentially marathoning all of these series back to back, but wow, this is good. A reading on the Spectre Detector leads the gang to an old mine system, where a shadow demon leads them right to a rickety bridge, and zaps the ropes holding it up. This causes the gang to fall down a chasm, basically handing the chest of demons over to the shadow. They use some stalactites to complete the average minecart roller coaster, crashing right into the coal deposits. Scrappy cosplays as the average Minecraft YouTuber.
Did you say miner?
The gang tell Vincent Van Gogh the bad news, who tells them they must retrieve it from the ghosts at Befuddle Manor. To do so, they pose as exterminators, which Flimflam ensures they will be needing. A nice old lady lets them in, but she immediately reveals her true form, and, is this a safe space? Before saying anything regretful, the Shadow Demon saves me by reappearing and making a run for it. Making a fly for it? The shadow splits up, so the gang has to as well, with Daphne taking Flimflam and Scrappy getting locked up in a room. Shaggy and Scooby are at least having a good time, hopping on stage to perform with the Shadow Demon for the partygoers. The red variant of Elvira introduces herself as Queen Morbidia, whose only question for the gang is, where's the chest of demons? Wait, if you don't have it, and they don't have it, that means we're in for a good old-fashioned treasure hunt. The gang don't get to participate though, as they're put in the dungeon below with the giant spider and the Shadow Demon. They sneak through a crack in the cell like the guys who escaped Alcatraz, leading to a giant maze, and a meeting with the building's old owner, Byron Befuddle. Morbidia trapped him down here some time ago, and he sent the Shadow Demon to recruit the gang, so they agreed to help him out. Byron and the Shadow Demon hid the chest of demons upstairs in Morbidia's closet, but once they retrieve it, the entire house of creepy crawlies chases after them. Much like in Dante's Inferno, to escape this place, you must go down. Or technically, up? Either way, Vincent is Virgil, rescuing the gang from the spire, leaving Morbidia and her multitude of monsters to pursue. Now at the edge of the cliff, all the gang can do is burst into song to buy enough time for the sun to rise, neutralizing the threats with theater. Morbidia shrinks down to nothing, getting put into the chest. 2 down, 11 more to go. This one's still a good episode, but doesn't nearly hit the heights of the first two. Plus, the extended song breaks kinda killed the motion for me. Our next ghoul for the gang is in one of my favorite cities in the world, Marrakesh in Morocco. Once they arrive at the hotel to meet Vincent Van Gogh, they soon realize that a paranormal convention is being held there. Hey, remember Bogle and Weird from that first episode that we kinda forgot about? Well, they're back in the Moroccan mix, as they were the ones who sent the phony telegram to the gang to get them there. The two ghosty boys sneak into room 1313, joined by 2 of the hotel's maids, one of which gets sucked up by this mirror portal. But Bogle and Weird's celebrations are cut short when the mirror demon tells them they got the wrong person, so the hunt is back on. While in the convention, the gang run into someone absolutely dripped out, and suddenly I know my next Halloween costume. Vincent uses a random crystal ball like a payphone, contacting the gang to let them know of the danger they're in. To save themselves, they must find the amulet of Ishkabibble. But before they can even get started, the convention goers get a bit upset when the gang completely wreck the whole show, and chase them out. They go up to their room, but the surviving maid and the hotel concierge are already up there to meet them, accusing them of kidnapping the maid. A bit of M.A. Noir allows them to escape to try and find the amulet at the local bazaar. One of the vendors gives it to Daphne free of charge, so surely this isn't some kind of tourist trap. Before they even get a second to question this, Bogle and Weird bring the gang up on stage for a little ditty. And Flimflam's song actually isn't that bad. The Mirror Demon doesn't seem to think so though. Everyone's a critic. The Reflector Spectre pops out to yoink the gang, but ends up getting zoinked, as Sandy and Selma are captured instead. The gang sneak back into the hotel, immediately being caught by the concierge, and they use the old New Year's Eve in June gambit to escape. Shag and Scoob run into Bogle and Weird, who drag them up to be presentable for RuPaul. Oh, it's just Michelle Visage. The Reflector Spectre captures Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby, sending them into the dimension from Labyrinth. Luckily, Daphne still has the amulet, and in this backward dimension, can finally read the inscription on the back, which saves the gang, Sandy, and Selma. But they can't escape that easily, as the Reflector Spectre sends a supercharged chakra towards them, only to be vacuumed up by Flim Flam, and is put into the chest of demons. The gang win Ghost Hunters of the Year, and the person who gave Daphne the amulet earlier hands them the trophy, removing their guise to reveal Vincent Van Gogh. And to celebrate, they give us the old Flim Flam to end our Moroccan adventure. And I like this one way more than the last one. It's closer to the first two, but maybe just a step below. The gang take a much deserved break from all this monster hunting to have a nice horror movie marathon. And I'd kill to sit there with them and watch stupid horror movies. For some reason, Shaggy thinks 6 people need 6 pounds of popcorn, unleashing the popcorn demon. Okay, not really. But the host of tonight's marathon addresses the gang personally, transporting them into the feature presentation, the son of the bride of the ghost of Frankenstein, while Zomba goes into the house to search for the chest of demons. In case you forgot, the world was black and white until the 1950s, when they introduced color TV. So the gang stick out like a sore thumb in this black and white picture. Dr. Frankenstein and Egad are tired of reliving this movie over and over again, and decide to quit the picture, giving the gang their clothes. This is some next level meta I'd expect from a Scream movie, not in a forgotten Scooby-Doo series. The angry mob enter the cemetery, leaving Scrappy Gad and Frankenscoob to take the secret passage back to the laboratory. Meanwhile, Zomba breaks into the room where the chest is kept, but just before they can grab it, trips the alarm system and is kicked back into the living room. When they do reach it, they find it to be a fake. Flim Flam still has the real one. When Zomba teleports there to grab it, he throws it to Vincent Van Gogh and they take off running, while Frankenscoob tries out a science experiment. And we get a shocking result. His creature is alive, but maybe not exactly how he would have liked. The monster chases them around the castle, only being stopped by Flim Flam playing director, eventually sending them into a locked room. But they won't be alone for long, as Zomba runs in expecting to find the chest. Shaggy and Scooby hide down in the basement, as Vincent leads the charge to charge the crystal ball, using far too much power, which causes an explosion, trapping the monster underneath some rubble. Scooby pulls a classic Popeye move, eating some Scooby snacks for the strength to save the monster, right before Zomba gets them. In the final battle, Zomba corners them up on the roof, eventually knocking them onto the windmill. Eventually everyone gets flung about, with Zomba being the unlucky one to land right in the chest of demons, breaking the curse and returning the gang to their cozy popcorn couch. And they even brought a friend. How sweet. Again, it's just another absolute banger of an episode. The gags throughout are so much fun. There's a recurring one where the angry mob grow tired trying to break down the door that's just so stupid. I love it. Scooby is still absolutely distraught from the never-ending stream of monsters, ghosts, and ghouls, so the gang decide to have a nice little vacation to calm him down. So they set sail for Bermuda, with Bogle and Weird hitching a ride as well, who certainly aren't helping to settle his nerves whatsoever. Flim Flam tries to teach Scooby some magic tricks to take his mind off of things, but the two ghostly guys even ruin that. Vincent Van Gogh directs Daphne, Flim Flam, and Scrappy to where his EMF reader shows paranormal activity, the captain's room. But no ghosts here. Old Vince must be losing it. The captain invites the gang for dinner, and they head back to their cabin to try and convince Scooby to come out. But it's Bogle and Weird who are the real catalysts for him making the leap of faith. A leap that gives him a grade 2 concussion. Flim Flam takes this opportunity to try out some of his new hypnotizing techniques on Scooby, flipping his fear receptor from screaming and trembling to laughing. There's no way this could go bad. At dinner, the captain prepares a toast for the guests, reminiscing on the anniversary of the cruise's last voyage, 50 years ago. And it was nice of them to bring the ship out of retirement for this occasion and... oh, he died. Once they hit the outskirts of the Bermuda Triangle, the glitz and glam of the cruise ship turns to barnacles and grime, an honestly kind of cooler aesthetic. The gang takes shelter in their cabin, calling to Vincent Van Gogh for help, who warns them that entering the triangle would mean the chest of demons opening up, resetting all of the progress at this point. Try as they might, they're just too late, and the cyclone demon escapes from the chest. And this demon stops for absolutely no one, not discriminating ghosts and ghouls from girls, guys, and everything in between. So I'm left with no choice but to stand. Scooby sits down at the theater to watch Titanic, but luckily the cyclone demon saves him from 3 hours of mid, turning this into a 3D flick. Scrappy gets picked up like dust in the wind, losing the crystal ball in the process, which knocks it around just enough for it to transport Vincent Van Gogh onto the ship. He uses the crystal to get them out of the triangle, and Scooby finally gets to show off his new magic trick, fooling the ghoul into getting into the chest, resulting in another ghost being captured. With the ghost defeated, their ship is no more, leaving the gang stuck in the middle of the Atlantic, but most importantly, giving us the return of Scooby's duck raft. This episode felt like it took a bit too long to get started. I didn't really enjoy Scooby being absolutely terrified of everything, even more so than he usually is. It's not a terrible episode by any means, but just kinda meh. Down in New Orleans for Mardi Gras, Bogle and Weird are waiting outside of the Wharton Warlock Hotel, addressing us as the viewers directly. Inside, Vincent Van Gogh receives the prestigious honor of Warlock of the Year, introducing the gang to his old friend Victor Voudini. But we don't care right now. Bogle and Weird introduce us to the lovely Nakara, who uses her appeal to sway the minds of these love-struck men. Slay. But her trance of love power only works on Friday the 13th, which just so happens to be today. Her eyes hone in on Mr. Van Gogh, but he's just not that into you, girl, as he runs off. Apparently, they used to date, so actually it makes sense that he would avoid her at all costs. Flimflam gives Nakara Vincent's room number, and she heads up to find him, instead finding Victor Voudini, who she drains of his warlock powers. He tries to reject her advances, but she is incredibly persuasive, and eventually her appeal entrances Vincent. We get a fun montage sequence of the gang interrupting Nakara and Vincent's date night, making sure they never kiss to complete the ritual. Unfortunately, he's so love-blinded that he dives headfirst into proposing. But you know what? I love an enemies to lovers arc. I'll give them my blessing. But the gang don't love any fun, so they keep Vincent locked up in their hotel room. The gang set up a spy operation to keep an eye out for anything weird, and these gargoyles look really high def for some reason. Oh right. Bogle and Weird animate the monsters to attack Shaggy and Scooby, taking out the defense, leaving Van Gogh unguarded. They dress up as maids to walk in and clean up, putting Vincent in the laundry sack, but slip on Flimflam's banana peel and fall down the laundry chute. With just 1 hour before midnight, Nakara pulls out her final trap card, summoning all the ghosts from the cemetery to do what Bogle and Weird couldn't. The ghosts fly Van Gogh over to the wedding ceremony, leaving the gang no choice but to enact their final gambit, the deserted family. As the clock strikes midnight, they finally share a kiss, but Nakara's curse has already worn off, as she and the rest of the ghosts she summoned are sucked into the chest of demons. While the gang sit down for a nice dinner at Vincent's manor, the Brewski sisters, who look like the Kanker sisters from Ed, Edd and Eddy all grown up, appear on Vincent's CCTV cameras. But a ghostly cloud being delivers them a little black book of spells, to make them the most powerful witches in the world. Couldn't have picked a better group, I must say. While the gang attempts to handle the three witch sisters, Vincent takes on the task of Marcella the Mystic Mist. The gang pull up to the Brewski home, as the sisters are cooking up a seriously suspicious stew, but when they find themselves short on ingredients, they DoorDash the rest. But these sales beings care more than the average delivery driver, trying their best to upsell these sisters on the finest junk they could never want. And it works. The boys manage to steal the book of spells and run out, but a group of bats divert Scooby and bring it back to the Brewskis, who hit the night sky on their broomsticks. Meanwhile, Vincent transports himself into the evil zone, where he eventually finds Marcella in the flesh, who immediately zaps him and ties him up. Looks like it's up to the gang to save the day again, who follow the sisters to Egypt as they try and steal the Cobra staff. But their disguises can't be that good, as the sisters immediately clock them, using their spells to transport Paris to them. But this doesn't seem realistic. Nowhere on Earth can you see one of the world's largest pyramids and also the Eiffel Tower. Oh, you right. The sisters still need some fresh Parisian water, so they hit the only fresh water source out there, the sewers. Once again, the gang don't really get too far in their next plan, getting driven away by a witchy ult, and proceed to get emoted on. They fly over to Stonehenge to brew some brewski brews, and while the gang try another of Flimflam's plans, Miss Misty Marcella returns to end their meddling. Vincent and this weird little furball thing escape from the evil zone just in time to make an amendment to the book, allowing the Brewski sisters to have it back. They read Spell 13 version 2, which dooms Marcella into the chest of demons, and everyone emotes as they get the victory royale. It's a good bit of fun, and while I do enjoy having multiple villains throughout, this one is just reaching that precipice of maybe a little too goofy. We begin the next episode with a foreboding message from Vincent Van Gogh, as Time Slime has apparently been speeding up time in the world, which we see in action as Bogle and Weird are there to help. This causes the gang to lose control of the red mystery machine, crashing right into the Welcome to Cuckoosburg sign. When they enter the mountain town, the days turn to nights in a flash, distracting them from this giant grandfather clock, which hits the lever to send them crashing. Vincent Van Gogh sees this on his crystal ball, casting a spell to get them out of Time Slime's grasp, but Scooby doesn't get to come along. Instead, Scooby gets sent through time, seeing his past and more importantly his present, which is enough to send him over the edge. Scooby quits mystery solving and ghost hunting altogether, returning back home to his parents' house. The gang calls the dues, but Scooby's mind is made up. So, it's time to find a replacement. In the end, they end up choosing Bernie Gumsher, who's certainly a character, but absolutely no one likes the change, as it makes national news. And even President Reagan takes one foot out of the grave to ask Scooby to return. Speaking of Reagan's grave, let's all celebrate the world's first gender-neutral bathroom. With Scooby-Doo out of the picture, Time Slime and his helpers are free to retrieve the Time Scepter from the rest of the gang. Except, they don't have it. Vincent does. No matter, as Time Slime grabs the gang and ties them up in his Tower of Timekeeping. Just before Time Slime opens the chest to release all of the ghosts, Vincent uses the Time Scepter to pause time, giving him the time to show Scooby what will happen if they don't stop Time Slime. And, wouldn't you know, it's not a pretty sight. A full-on apocalypse happens. Flim Flam and Scrappy join Time Slime's biker gang, Shaggy turns into the average-looking Floridian, and Daphne is taken as Time Slime's slave. Daphne only serves looks, not men. Or undisclosed time deity. This sight is enough to make him recant his withdrawal from the mystery gang, and Vincent turns back time to the moment before Time Slime opens the chest. Scooby powers up on Scooby Snacks that might be laced with whatever future Shaggy was on, giving him enough courage to defeat Bogle, Weird, and importantly Time Slime, trapping them inside the chest. And the gang live happily ever after. Until the next episode, that is. Also, if Vincent can just transport the gang with magic, why didn't he just do that when they were about to die? Is he stupid? Bogle and Weird are burning the Midnight Oil at the National Gazette, working really hard to get tomorrow's comic strip printed out. Their boss comes back in to check their progress, and refill the machines with this super special ink that gives them control of every monster put to paper. Demondo hops in the book, and tasks Bogle and Weird to deliver this special edition directly to Scooby-Doo. Vincent's living with the gang, and makes them wait on him hand and foot, as Scooby brings him the morning paper. While he checks his horoscope, Scooby gets the comics, summoning Demondo out into the real world, who uses the special pen to create a vortex that takes the gang into the comic world. But as Scooby is falling, he grabs the pen from Demondo, leaving everyone on equal ground, with no real way to get out. The gang, Demondo, and the pen all end up in different comic strips, leaving the gang to work their way through each one, like they did with the game levels in Cyber Chase. And it's a really fun concept here too. The first one with Platypus Duck is probably the most annoying, but then we get to see Astra 2000 for like half a second before Demondo transports the gang onto their ship, looking to get the pen back. When Scooby admits he doesn't have it, Demondo picks him up and holds him over the edge of the ship, but is eventually the one to get stuck in space. This wacky wizard reveals where the pen is for the gang, and uses some of his magic to get the gang there before Demondo. Scooby grabs it, but trips on the only rock in the way, dropping the pen, which breaks in half. Putting it back together shows them that the pen truly was a key, and Demondo takes it and runs throughout the panels and over various strips, with the gang and the other comic characters in hot pursuit. They end up back in Platypus Duck's world, where his arch-nemesis accidentally captures Demondo, and Scooby grabs the key, allowing everyone their escape back to the real world. Just before Demondo follows them, Scooby crumples the paper up, and throws it into the chest of demons, sealing Demondo in for good. Again, the concept behind this one was super cool, with the going back and forth between different comics, but Cyber Chase definitely did this one better. The gang head to beautiful Southern California for their next ghost. Good luck finding them though. Everyone out here is soulless anyways. A delivery person brings Vincent Van Gogh his takeaway meal, and as they go to leave, are attacked by a bat, instantly transforming into this hybrid nightmare. This glowing red ruby seems to have a big effect on Vincent, as he turns into stone after staring into it. This was an initiation for Rancor to join this elite society of monsters, with another initiation taking place simultaneously, which I'm sure is gonna go just as well as, oh, it's Bogle and Weird. Yeah, their ass is not getting accepted. They're here to sabotage the parade tomorrow by poisoning all the flowers. Now, I might be biased, but that's just super uncool. And I think the gang are on my side too, as they find the hangar the paranormal pair are in, but are left to take the fall when they're caught by some police. After successfully losing their wanted level, Vincent calls them while he's getting stoned. Turned to stone. Bogle and Weird offer to help the gang, but Rancor and the boss catch wind of it and aren't super steezed, and Rancor is asked to take them out. Shaggy and Scooby get handcuffed to Bogle and Weird, which is made even worse when the red mystery machine gets towed away, leaving the gang stranded on the west coast. Rancor swoops in and becomes Christine, chasing the gang around the airport before crashing into a tree. The gang get the services of a local pilot, who Rancor has already paid a visit to, who flies them east. When the FBI are on their tail, he tries to fly the plane like the one from GTA 5, getting saved by the GTA 5 train. Seeing as Bogle and Weird can't cut it, Rancor takes matters into their own hands, zapping the biplane and shredding the wings off. They come to a crash landing on top of the blimp like in that one Rockstar game. What was it? It'll come to me. Flim Flam pops the unleaded Zeppelin, sending them on the quickest cross-country tour, ending up in Massachusetts, where the Mask of Mooma is kept. Once inside, Flim Flam unlocks the handcuffs, giving Bogle and Weird the opportunity to steal the chest of demons. Rancor catches back up, and a mummified Scooby causes a big pileup, leading to Bogle and Weird losing the crystal ball, unstonifying Vincent. The FBI show back up to arrest the gang, just as the sun rises. This would also lead to Rancor burning up, so they head into the dark safety of the chest of demons. And it's such a disappointing ending. Rancor was actually kinda cool, but went out in the worst way possible. Scooby and the gang are on the way back to Scooby's hometown of Douville, with his parents waiting for him outside the train station. But the first train doesn't have Scooby aboard, instead being a traveling circus, heading to their next show, which also just so happens to be free. Sounds good enough for the elder dues, as they hop aboard. The gang are on the next train, with Bogle and Weird hitching a ride too. Their next attempt at the chest of demons is probably the most evil yet, detaching the train car and sending it into an oncoming train. Luckily, it somehow just ramps right over, so the two ghosts fully derail the train. But plot armor strong enough to be Elden Ring on ultra hardcore means the gang are just fine, and their car reattaches to the rest of the train. Seeing no one at the station to greet them, they head over to the carnival they hear, run by Professor Phantasmo. Everything here is free, so how could that be profitable for Professor Phantasmo? Flim Flam shows off the chest of demons to Phantasmo, who thinks it would make a great attraction. Though partially swayed by the money he can make, Flim Flam declines the offer, sticking in his allegiance with the gang. The funhouse is closed for repairs, which is the perfect way for Bogle and Weird to lure Scooby and Shaggy in, switching the sign for free pizza. But these two goofballs couldn't catch a cold in a blizzard, getting scared into their own trap. This leads Shag and Scoob to the window, where looking out at the carnival reveals things aren't exactly as they seem. They hurriedly round the gang and the dudes up, taking them back home to try and explain. But Flim Flam was just too enamored by the sights and smells of the carnival, and runs off to join the circus. He foolishly signs his life away before reading the contract, and goes to speak with the guests. Finally, Phantasmo drops the act, as his true evil nature is revealed, and he searches through Flim Flam's sweater for the chest of demons, contracting Bogle and Weird to aid in his theft. Hey wait, I've seen this one before. I'm so shocked Disney would steal something and play it off as their own idea. Vincent appears on the crystal ball to warn the gang they must get Flim Flam back by midnight, otherwise Phantasmo's curse will be permanent. They drop in on the circus, where Phantasmo immediately sends a fireball at Daphne and Scrappy, with only the latter escaping. Flim Flam is put in charge of the show, and put even further under Phantasmo's spell. But when the clown show rolls in, a Phantasmo fireball destroys the Calliope, breaking the curse that holds everyone in the big top. This includes Flim Flam, who whips Phantasmo into gear, sending him back into the chest of demons. In the series finale, Horoscope Scoob, the gang are at the local TV station to find their final ghost. While they wait for their moment on the big screen, a local horoscope writer warns of bad times ahead for someone with the initials SD. But before Shag and Scoob can get out of their appearance, the director of the show arrives and tells them they're up next. After a commercial break, the gang join Boris on air, only to fall for the oldest trick in the book, as the floor underneath them drops out due to Bogle and Weird. This allows them to finally get their hands on the chest of demons. While the gang begin the hunt for the chest, Vincent and his old buddy Boris start pointing fingers, and both head out. While Bogle and Weird celebrate their heist in their cave, the ghost of Zimbulu appears and explains to them that if they didn't grab the chest, and Bogle and Weird don't have it, then it's still lost. They better find it, and quick, since the gang are already making progress. As Tallulah does a tarot card reading, and finds the chest is at an old lighthouse. Surely everyone in the Ghost Kingdom has heard that Bogle and Weird are really bad at this whole thing. But here they are again, being trusted with defending the lighthouse while Zimbulu looks for the chest. The two caretakers take care of the meddling mystery solvers, locking them in the lighthouse and pushing it over. As the boys hang off the edge of the cliff, Daphne and Flim Flam drive the mystery machine into the water, using Scooby's favorite duck raft. Back on dry land, Tallulah holds another seance, conjuring up Vincent Van Gogh to warn them that one of his most powerful books is missing, which also happens to be the guide to the chest. In another vision, Tallulah finds that the chest is located at the Ghoulish Lawn Cemetery, and with a little encouragement, the gang head over. Also, why is Scooby eating mothballs? Shaggy and Scooby get thrown into the mausoleum, finding a zombie and their zombuddies, but they quickly ditch the walkers, sending them over to Atlanta. Surely nothing bad will happen there. The gang find the last clue they need, leading back to the TV station, where they find everything in Boris Krepoff's room. Boris plans to open the chest of demons live on air, allowing him to become the most powerful being in the world. This is all to get back at Vincent for showing him up and taking all the fame, while he's been reduced to hosting a television show. Tallulah appears to claim her reward as well, transforming into Zimbulu. Okay, good for them. Zimbulu opens the chest of demons, releasing all of the spirits back into the world. But before obtaining omnipotent power, the current most powerful being in the world, Flimflam, vacuums all of the spirits up, locking them back in the chest. For a series grand finale, it doesn't feel that grand. But then again, most animated shows never really know when their final episode is, until it's all over. And just like that, the series draws to a close with a relative whimper. But a conclusive one nonetheless. But what's the worst episode? And more importantly, what was the best one? Well, for me, the worst one was definitely Ship of Ghouls, followed by Me and My Shadow Demon, Horoscope Scoob, When You Witch Upon a Star, Coast to Ghost, The Ghouliest Show on Earth, Reflections in a Ghoulish Eye, A Spooky Little Ghoul Like You, It's a Wonderful Scoob, Scooby and Quackyland, That's Monstertainment, To All the Ghouls I've Loved Before, and the best episode to me was easily Scoobra-Kadubra. The series started off super strong, but just kinda leveled off from there. The gang managed to capture all of the... hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hold on. We're missing one? What do you mean they only captured 12 ghosts? What do you mean you have to watch a direct-to-video movie released in 2019, a full 34 years after this series, to find the final one they captured? Who thought this was a good idea? Yeah, it's genuinely so disappointing that the show ended here. Not just because it ends without finishing the story they've spent hours building, but also because this series was genuinely one of the best ones in the whole franchise. It's hilarious. So many jokes and gags got a legitimate laugh out of me. Is the bar essentially on the floor after 3 straight Scooby and Scrappy series? Yes, absolutely. But even by today's standards, I'd easily put this one up against many of the fan favorite series. And I think it's able to stand up. Eventually, I will get to the movie continuation of this series. But until then, thank you so much for watching. This one's been one of my favorite scripts yet. A huge shout out to all the patrons and channel members who helped me out tremendously. If you want to see the next videos a few weeks in advance, the link will be down below or in the card above. But please, don't feel obligated to do so. The more or less same videos will always be over here. It's just a bonus incentive to help me out. Again, thank you so much for watching these. And bye!